thoughts you can do to improve your writing? Like, a lot. Varying length not only adds a rhythm or poetry to the piece, it also engages your reader and makes it much easier to read in general. Sentence length isn't everything. Different types of sentences, you need a variety of those. Well, there's actually more if you consider imperative, declarative, and interrogative. Exclamatory, but those are different in different kind of ways, so we're just going to ignore them for now. Simple, complex, compound, whatever. Simple sentence, most basic there is. It is one independent clause. You can expand on simple sentences to make them quite a bit longer. The cat and the dog walked to the park and sat on the bench, but you can't say the dog went to the park and then it sat on the bench, because that would be a compound sentence. Compound sentences are two independent phrases linked with said conjunction. The last type of sentence I'm going to talk about in the three is the complex sentence, which is a dependent clause linked with an independent clause. It can include more than one dependent clause, but my examples will probably only include one each. And like I said earlier about complex compound sentences, if you combine this complex sentence to the compound sentence that we mentioned previously, or even just combine it to a simple sentence using a conjunction, you'll make a complex compound sentence. Since you're familiar with independent clauses now, we're going to talk about dependent clauses for a few seconds. So to make a clause dependent, you need to begin it with a subordinator. That doesn't mean the clause needs to be at the beginning of the sentence. It can be at the middle or the end, but that particular clause needs to begin with a subordinator. So subordinators are words that cue the reader that more information is to come. Things like after, although, as, because, before, even though, if, since, though, unless, until, when, whenever, whereas, wherever, while. So an example of a sentence with the subordinate clause at the beginning would be, because the dog walked to the park, the cat played outside. And at the back you could say, the cat played outside as the dog went to the park. You can also use it in the middle, the dog who liked to chase cats went to the park. Generally, when you're combining two clauses, you're going to be trying to give the most important information at the end. So, the little boy gasped when the barking dog broke free of the fence. The important part of that statement is the barking dog breaking free of this fence. So you don't want to reverse it, for example, with because the barking dog broke free of the fence, the little boy gasped. We don't care about the little boy's reaction, really. We're much more interested in the dog breaking free. Grammatically, it is interesting to note that when you use an dependent clause at the beginning, you use a comma, but not when you use it anywhere else, except when it is unessential information with a proper noun and a relative pronoun. A relative pronoun isn't really a subordinating conjunction. It does subordinate a sentence, but it's acting as a noun in a way that subordinating conjunctions do not. After is not a noun. We went to the park after we went to the zoo. No, not a noun, just subordinating. However, the dog who went to the park, who is a pronoun, it's replacing the dog. So, whether the information is essential or non-essential basically has to do with whether it's identifying the noun or just giving you extra information. So, for example, the dog is a very general noun. It's not a proper noun like Scooby or Clifford, which tells you exactly which dog you're dealing with. So when you go, the dog who likes to chase cats went to the park, who likes to chase cats is identifying which dog it is. So it's essential to the sentence, not just extra information, because it identifies the general noun. If you said, Scooby, who likes to chase cats went to the park, then the same subordinate clause is actually non-essential anymore because they know exactly which dog you're talking about, and thus it's just excess information and needs to be surrounded in commas. Another really good thing to point out is that you can use theoretically incorrect grammar in creative ways within your fiction. It's allowed. Poetry does it all the time, but poetry doesn't have a monopoly on bad grammar for creative purposes. You're allowed to use it in fiction, even non-fiction if you want to. I guess it depends whether your boss is going to be a stick about it. My personal opinion is if you can justify your reasoning for breaking the rules, then you probably are using it right, and if you cannot justify your opinion for breaking the rules, or worse, didn't realize you were breaking them, probably you should fix it. So a run-on sentence is two independent clauses or more that are connected without proper punctuation. This includes just using a comma with no conjunction causing a comma splice, or no punctuation at all, and you just keep rambling on and on without anything to say whether we should be stopping or going or taking a breath or breathing at all, and if there's any conjunction leading into the next thought, or if this is just a ball of rambling bloodburness. You can correct a run-on sentence when you find one by using a semicolon, a comma or conjunction, by using a period and capitalizing the second independent clause. You can also use a subordinator to subordinate one of the halves. And yeah, those are the ways you can correct a run-on sentence. However, this isn't about how you can fix them, this is about how you can use them creatively. So, you can use them with a rambly, talkative character who just doesn't shut up and just keeps going on and on and on and on and on, rambly, You can also just use it if your character is in a huge hurry and doesn't take time to catch their breath. There's people coming to kill everybody. They're at the river. You need to go now. Hurry, hurry, ba-da-da. Whatever it is. A big paragraph of dialogue from a character that is characterized as being extremely talkative and doesn't shut up. The run-on sentences work well with. It also works well if you are portraying a character who is dying and needs to get across a lot of information very quickly, or for some other reason is going to vanish into thin air because they're a hologram that's breaking, or some ghost from the future, whatever. Need to get a lot of information across it very quickly. Run-on sentences are very good for portraying that sort of rushness. Another acceptable way to use the comma splice, which is a specific type of run-on sentence, is with repetitive phrases. For example, I came, I saw, I conquered. Generally accepted as okay despite being a comma splice. And like I said, poetry, that is where grammar goes to die in hell, basically. But does not have a monopoly. So a sentence fragment isn't the opposite of a run-on, it is just another way to mess up grammar. A sentence fragment does not have a subject or does not have a verb. I guess it could have neither, but usually it's just lacking one or the other. Obviously you can fix a fragment sentence by giving it either a subject or predicate, making it into a simple sentence or compound sentence or complex sentence, whatever you want, really. And a couple of examples would be, at the park, the dog who chased cats, and that has no predicate, or at the park, ran along the fence, missing a subject. Run-ons work really well in really quick fight scenes, or when something is confusing and you're not actually sure what's going on, like if there's a flash of light, then black, flash of light, then black, and everything is just baffling with no time to come up with a concrete thought. Another way you could use this if a character is very tired, they've just run a marathon and they can't actually get everything out of their mouth at a time, so they're just speaking in fragments. So those are the 3 types of sentences, and having touched on them, as well as something like I'm going to give you not a homework assignment as much as something to work on in your spare time if you want to get a little bit of extra practice in. Basically, I'm going to give you a sentence, and then your job would be to come up with as many different ways to write the sentence as you possibly can. For example, the woman with the crocodile purse clacked across the tile in sharp stilettos. So an example of a rewrite would be a crocodile purse by her side, the woman's sharp stilettos clacked on the tile floor. Or the tile floor clacked with each step of the woman's sharp stilettos, a crocodile purse dangled from her hand. Basically what you should be trying to do is make simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, start with a subordinate phrase, end with a subordinate phrase, have a subordinate phrase in the middle, make it short, make it long, try 5 words, 20 words. Can you get all of that information in? Can you make it as concise as possible? Another really fun exercise is to take a paragraph from your favorite book, make it into a haiku. That's 5, 7, 5, or syllables or less, depends on your interpretation. There's all kinds of different stuff going on with haikus. But the point is, try and make it really short. Take your novel synopsis, make it into a sonnet. That's really helpful for getting to the point of the matter. What is important to this paragraph, to the story, to the description? You're looking for the telling detail when you're trying to describe, not trying to paint a picture, but invoke a feeling. So, invoking a feeling can be complicated, but is easier if you have a good understanding of sentences. Yeah. So, this is all suggestions, basically. I mean, it will help. It will improve your writing. But chances are really good that nobody's going to read your writing anyways. And I don't mean that to be mean, I mean that as a fact. That's just how it works. Getting published is difficult. Especially in Canada, even if you get published, probably not very many people are buying your books anyways. So you might as well just write for yourself. Write what you enjoy, create what you enjoy, and see where it goes. That said, at one point in your writing career, you will need to decide whether you're writing for an audience or yourself. Even though nobody's going to read what you write, probably. If you're writing for an audience, there are different expectations. There's an expectation for good grammar usage. There is an expectation that you will have a concrete plot that makes sense, that your character named Susan isn't going to be Rachel when I flip the page. You need to take more energy, I guess, to make sure that you're staying up to certain standards. If you're having trouble engaging an audience, sentence level tension is probably the first place you should be looking. Are all of your sentences the same length? Do they all begin with I? Do they all begin with verbs? Are they all simple? Are they all complex? It's not easy rewriting something that is close to you, but it's not easy writing. So that is my advice for you and my tutorial for you on sentence structure, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you for watching Blue Collar Artists, and I will see you next time.